this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. This is the Everything in Bloom on the 8th, regular monthly update on the blooms that are actually open, rather than those to come and those that have been, which obviously you can't film. Anyway, there isn't that much to film today. I'm doing it early in the day because I want to get it out of the way, because I've actually got quite a lot of watering to do out here, and there isn't much to cover. This one here is going to be in Everything in Bloom on the 8th, probably several more times before it actually disappears. The Latorias really do hang in there as far as blooms are concerned, and I've got some buds not even open yet, so this is going to be in bloom for an awful long time. And it's been open quite a while, and so far no blooms have dropped. But the trouble is, I can't remember which was the first buds to open. I think it was these here. And what did I need to do it for? I forget what it was, but the cane that these are on has been hooked around a leaf, so they're pointing in towards the middle of the plant. I think it was so that I could sort of lift them up and film them. They were the first to open, so in theory they'll be the first to go. I'm not doing the Restrepias, I've just filmed those, but there are 3 of those in bloom. But I've just done a Restrepias thing, we don't want to repeat that again, but they are out. 3 out of 4. Yeah. The other one is, the 4th one just doesn't bloom that often compared with the others, but nonetheless it does. And then over here, if I can get a camera over there, so I'm not moving plants around today, is the Epidendrum. That is just starting to open. There's only 2 spikes on there, I think, maybe 3, and the plant was almost lost. It is recovering now. It's got some new growths and it's growing some roots, and it's been repotted into, so it's got new media. So it should pick up again during this growing season. And the spikes are a sort of perpetual. They're difficult to explain because they have a cluster of buds at the top which start to open from the lowest one first. But up in the centre of the cluster, they just keep growing more buds. So the spike just keeps extending for some considerable time. So again, this will be open, you know, this will be with us for a long time. Probably another 2 Everything in Bloom on the 8th before it starts to go. But it's not a strong plant at the moment, so they may not last as long as they have in the past. But they're very attractive flowers. Lovely deep orange. And what I call an upside down flower, because the lip is always at the top. Yeah, so it's nicknamed the Crucifix Orchid because the lip looks like a cross. Well, sort of, I suppose, doesn't it? It doesn't really to me, I must admit. Right, now I've got to be careful where I film because I want to save the best till last, and it's in the middle of the cluster. So we'll move round to here. It's amazing, actually. In all of this, all of that, all of this up here, because these have gone now, these don't count. All of this and all of this, that's all that's in bloom. Yeah, it's just that time of year. Yeah. Right, so coming over here, we've got the Spectabile, again a Latoria type, so the blooms are going to be out a long time. Unfortunately, they hang downwards, so they're not that easy to film. They've lost a fair bit of their colour over time, so the petals and sepals are now a very pale, creamy colour. They started off much deeper than that and more of a greeny colour. But nonetheless, the blooms have still got their shape and the colour on the lip remains constant. And as long as that's true, I suppose the blooms are going to last a while. But yeah, they've been out some time. It should be 2 spikes really, but some clumsy clod actually broke one off. I still don't know how I did it. After I'd finished a watering session, it was just there on the floor. So no idea how it got there, but obviously I did it. There's nobody else comes in here. Right, so then coming up here, we'll start at the back. We've got this nice Cattleya here that's got 2 sets of buds on it, one up the back there, and then this one here. And those are delightful blooms. The plant's in a bit of a state at the moment. It got a bit whacked with the treatment on the roots, but not as bad as some of the others, and it did continue to grow. It didn't drop all its leaves, and it has got some new roots growing. So again, it'll pick up, you know, come next year. We should still have two leads, so two sets of buds and blooms next year, and there'll probably be more blooms per cluster of buds next year, because it'll have recovered a bit once we get to there. So that's that one. And then the other Cattleya that's out is this one. Now this one, the plant was nearly lost. Let me just get the Tulumnia out of the way. And it shows, it's showing it. Bad attack of scale. Didn't take to the treatment at all. And the plant nearly got dumped, and then it just showed signs of recovery. And it did just that. But there's the sign of it not being happy. It's a distorted bloom. Yeah? There should be 5. There's only 3. And when you get a distorted bloom like that, it's difficult to say what they are, but in theory, as it was a normal looking bud, those are the 3 sepals, and it's the 2 petals that are missing with just the lip, because that's what it should look like, that one there. Very attractive blooms there. And then we can have if I can get it to stay still, which is never easy, we'll have a look at the Tulumnia. It's just a long dangly spike that moves around every opportunity it gets, but should be able to lock onto it and get a reasonable look at that. They're lovely blooms, very delicate, real colour changer. It opens, I've forgotten how this goes, I think it opened yellow, and then it faded to sort of white with a pink tinge, but I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it opened with this section of yellow colour, and then it faded. But each bloom's different. They've all got a different set of spots on them, on the lower section. Some more than others. This bloom here has hardly got any. This one's got lots, but attractive nonetheless. And then over here, this is it's my pride and joy at the moment, the Zygo, because I've had so much trouble with these in the past. Even though it's just a no ID hybrid, for me it's an achievement to have got one to grow, to repot it after blooming and not lose the root system and see it wither and die, and to actually get it to grow new growths and produce 2 spikes on one of those new growths, both of which have 6 blooms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, the one up there hasn't opened its last bud yet, so 5 on there. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on here, and 1 to go as well. So they're mirroring each other, the 2 spikes. But Zygos, if you look at them head on, you don't see the lip, because the petals and sepals, when the blooms are up the right way, are vertical, and the lip is horizontal. So if you look at them from a side section, you can sort of see, yeah, the petals and sepals and the lip are often at right angles. That's a very strange thing to do, but I would suspect it's something to do with the lip being a landing platform, and possibly the weight of the weight of an insect landing on there would open it and allow access, and then the polliner would stick. So it's to do with a pollination mechanism, I suspect, that being a landing platform. And a reasonably heavy insect, something like a bee perhaps, or a wasp, would lower that down, which would give them access. Yeah. So that's probably what that is. It's a pollination mechanism. And then over here, we've still got the sweet pinky Momoko, but we are losing the blooms fast now. There's actually only a few blooms left on here, but they're so big. You know, I mean, you can see the brown edges. Yeah. So these aren't going to be here too much longer, unfortunately, but they have put on a marvellous show. Very well pleased. And we still don't know what's going to happen with the 2 canes that grew last year. Larger than any of the other canes, but not a sign of a bud on them. I've got a horrible feeling that they're just going to sit there all through this year and bloom late winter next year. Unless we just get an unusual blooming at a strange time. But there's no sign of any buds on them, so I don't think they're going to bloom this year. They're going to wait till next year, which means I may have, unusual though it is, a nobile type with a 2-year cycle. That would be unusual. And it would mean that one of the elements of this plant has influenced the blooming cycle, because normally it's annual. Your new growths start early spring, grow through the year, feed and water well, all that stuff. Nice big fat canes. Dry off through the winter, give them a rest, cool them down, a bit brighter light if you can, all that sort of stuff. And then late winter you see the buds coming, and then you get the blooms, and the cycle repeats. Now this one looks like it could be a 2-year one. So it grows the growths in year 1. They rest along with the plant because that's what you're doing to the plant, but they don't bloom. They have another year of sitting there doing nothing, and then they bloom the following year. It could just be that it's a bit out of sync still and hasn't settled. Then next to this one we've got the Dendrobium prima donna. Again, the first blooms to open are starting to go now, but we've still got buds here that have just opened. And up the back there's another cane with, it's only got a couple of buds because a slug got at it and took away a couple of the buds, but there's still a couple there. So we've got some new blooms just opened and some still to come. So it's going to be in bloom for a while, even though the forerunners, the pioneers, are going to go soon. They are starting to fade a bit, but it shows here like the petals and sepals go papery when these fade. You can almost see through them, and yet the colour on the lip stays. But anyway, they're on their way, but new ones to replace them. That's good. And then down here we've got the little Sarcochilus that's got a name. The trouble is with the origins of these Sarcochilus is the nursery that they originated from often don't register them. So they end up with very long names. So you get, because it's a hybrid, you've got a plant with a long name crossed with a plant with a long name. The overall effect being a very long name. That's just how they are. Not many are registered yet. I'll see if I can get close in on this. I might be able to. Camera always washes the colour on this. This is a much deeper yellow than the camera shows. Shows it almost as a white bloom with a yellow centre. But the petals and sepals have all got yellow on them. So delicate little bloom, but that's soon to be off to a better place. And I don't mean a place of rest. It's going off to somebody who can grow it better than I can. First chance I get, along with the other two that I've got. And then last but not least over this side, we've got this beauty has opened up fully now. Now this is Infundibulum. And these blooms will be with us a long time. They are large. These are large. Lovely, pristine, papery white with that lovely deep gold in the centre. It's nearly orange, but you can't quite call it orange. It's the deepest yellow. And it starts off with a solid colour and then ends up as stripes leading into the centre. So gorgeous blooms, only 2, but I think they're going to be joined by maybe 1 or 2 more, because that bud there is starting to push. So we should get a couple more. Again, these should last a long time, so in theory, these should open before these go. So we should end up with more at the same time. But lovely blooms, absolutely gorgeous, love them. No fragrance that I've detected yet, but they've only just opened, and I haven't had the sun on the place. We've had dull days and cold, to come to think of it. Dull and cold at the moment. But a little bit of sunshine may induce a bit of fragrance, but I don't know. This is my first blooming on this one, so difficult to say. So that's that one. And then, oh no, we've still got Kaneko up here. Still got a couple of blooms hanging in. Always silhouetted this one because it's up high, but lovely. This is a Dendrobium Victoria Regina cross, so the blooms are very, very like that bloom. You can see the influence anywhere. Even though these are a distinct lilac colour, not in any shape or form heading towards the... It's an imaginary blue, Victoria Regina. It isn't blue, but it's pretty close. And depending on the camera you use and the light it's in, it can look quite blue, but it isn't really. Yeah, some blooms fading, some more to come. Got quite a few more buds coming out in places, so this is almost a perpetual bloomer, and it certainly doesn't get that from Victoria Regina, so I can only assume it gets it from its partner in crime, which was Goldschmidtianum, I think, is the other species that went into this. It's a primary cross, so it is, obviously very close to a true species, but yeah, it just seems to push out buds all through the year, including through the winter. I think it has a bit of a rest if it gets too hot in here for any length of time, so it doesn't produce buds in that sort of period. Right, and then last but not least, my apple blossoms opened. Now this hasn't got a variety name, because there are quite a lot of these about now, so I can only assume this is one of the originally produced hybrids. And for me, it is still one of the best. All the pictures of other people's I see, I sort of think, yeah, maybe. But I've got this lovely shaped and coloured lip with the deep yellow and the nice pink, I suppose you'd call that. But it's the petals. It's the way the colours merge, because yellow and pink don't. They don't go together as such. And to see yellow fading into pink and then getting darker to the edge of the petals, and with veining, it's just got everything going for it. And then there's the fragrance. It smells of freesias. Blooms have only just literally opened, so I doubt if I'll have fragrance today. But in a few days' time we will. Now, I've always measured the success of this plant by the increase in numbers of the bud cluster. Well, this year there isn't an increase, but I do have 2 leads this year that I didn't have last year. The other one I don't think is going to bloom. It's had a little bit of a setback on the root front, along with quite a few of the other Cattleyas, obviously. I've explained all that in the past, but yeah, this is still one of my favourite Cattleya type blooms. It just is. And as I said, you add the fragrance in there as well, plus under normal circumstances for me, it's quite a vigorous grower. It's not at the moment, with the loss of some of its root system, and the bulbs have got quite a bit desiccated, but they're still okay. There's still enough to hold nutrients there, and obviously I will get new growth soon and new roots, and it will pick up. I doubt if the bulbs will plump up though. I suspect that is their demise now, to actually look a bit desiccated from now on. But it'll pick up over time. And to say, we got 5 this year. We had 5 last year, so no increase in numbers there. And hopefully next year we'll have 2 lots of blooms on the 2 leads. The other lead is not strong enough to bloom. It was new, it was a divided rhizome, so it actually pushed out a new lead, but it was new at the time. And obviously the other lead is on the back end of the plant, which has got less roots to support it, so and the new roots didn't approve of their treatment, so they're not so good. But we will get new ones. It will recover, there's no doubt about that. So yeah, and that's it. Those are they. It's not a huge number this time round. As regards numbers of blooms, like 5, when this comes out up here, I'm not counting them. I'm not counting the blooms on that. No way. We'll just have to say lots. I think that will do, lots, but that's going to be quite a show soon. Snuck that in because we don't normally do buds in this video. So there we go, that's everything in bloom this time round. Not a huge amount, and there's not a huge amount of plants in bud, but there are some, so we will have some different stuff next time round, hopefully, because not all of this is going to still be here in a month's time. So there we go, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.